Welcome to the Jack Mountain Bushcraft Podcast, episode 42.
Welcome to the Jack Mountain Bushcraft Podcast with your host, Jack Mountain Bushcraft School founder and master Maine guide, Tim Smith.
I'm your host, Tim Smith. I'm a registered master Maine guide, and in 1999 I founded the Jack Mountain Bushcraft School. We help people become more skilled, more knowledgeable, more experienced, and more confident outdoors by using traditional skills, a few simple tools, and field-based experience. Whether you're looking to go from city slicker to competent outdoor professional, want to experience a remote expedition, or just want to learn a few new outdoor skills, we've got you covered. You can check out the show notes to this and all of our podcasts at blog.jackmtn.com. When you're there, click on the podcast button. And if you enjoy the show, please leave us a review on iTunes. Lastly, the best way to keep up with our programs and trips is to join our email newsletter, and you can do that at jmbnews.com. Hello and welcome to episode 42 of the Jack Mountain Bushcraft Podcast, coming to you from the Guide Shack after a week on the Gaspésie Peninsula and Quebec's beautiful Bonaventure River. I am Tim Smith, your host, and I'm here with Christopher Russell and Colin Clifford, two guys who joined the crew for last week's expedition. How are we doing this morning, boys?
Great. Tired, but great.
Tired is the name of the game.
Yes, it is.
But what a fantastic trip. The three of us were joined by Frank Grindrod, who runs earthwork programs in Massachusetts, Kelly Harleton and Dragon Uzelac, who work with Karamat Wilderness Ways in Alberta, Canada, and Blake Towsley, who is the honcho at Le Club de Raquette, Smooth Rock Falls. Originally from Ontario, but currently in the Canadian Army, based in Gagetown in New Brunswick.
Yeah, what a great group of guys we had.
Yeah, to say that we had fun is ridiculous.
That's undercutting it. It was a party in the Gaspésie.
Definitely a party in the Gaspésie. Our song for the trip, which we played over and over and over again, was Miley Cyrus's Party in the USA. And for those of you who don't know the story, the first time that I heard Party in the USA, it's like she was singing directly to me because I am also from the USA, and I also like to party.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's our song for every. That ends up being our song for every trip at this point. Like it's just our theme song.
So we changed the words for this one. Instead of Party in the USA, it was Party in the Gaspésie.
Yeah.
So
and we sang it all through the trip. It didn't stop.
We even performed it in front of a couple of through paddlers, a couple of...
They didn't find it as funny as we did.
No.
They really didn't.
In fact, it's really not funny.
It's not at all. It's just we can't kill it now.
It's just that idea that inside jokes are funny if you're on the inside.
Otherwise, they're not. Like, who are these weirdos from Maine singing Miley Cyrus in northern Quebec? Let's paddle harder.
Yeah, maybe it's the modern version of Dueling Banjos by...
don't cheapen it, Tim.
We took off the river yesterday after working really hard for a couple of days. Drove back here to Maine, and now we're just exhausted, trying to pick up the pieces, put away gear. Christopher's busy spilling coffee all over everything out of the thermos.
I'm sorry. I don't know how a thermos works after a week on trail.
So this morning we're going to talk a little bit about the trip, about some of the fun things that happened out there, and then just a few things about kind of the expedition lifestyle, I guess, for lack of a better term. So, we left here. The three of us and Frank got in the truck a week ago Saturday morning, drove up to the outfitter's place. We spent the night there. We all got on a big bus, and they drove us about 4 hours to the put-in at the top of the Cheekchalks Mountains, right at Lake Bonaventure. And you'll see some of the pictures. If you're on Instagram, I think everybody on the trip has an Instagram account and they're posting pictures like crazy. But this water's like nothing you've ever seen,
it's
right?
Unreal.
It's crystal clear. This is my second trip up there. First trip for all these guys, but it's pretty unique in that I don't filter the water up there. I don't boil the water. I just drink it right out of the river.
Yeah,
that was an awesome.
It was unbelievable.
Awesome experience to do that.
It was really. This is the first time I've been on trail with this organization that I didn't spend the whole time that we were canoeing drinking smoke flavored water, and that was kind of great. Not having to boil your own water and have it taste like campfire for a week. It doesn't sound like a big deal, but after a week of it, fresh water sounds like a pretty good thing.
It makes things a lot easier.
Yeah, it was
for sure.
just pleasant.
You're cooking less. You have shorter fires because you're just cooking. You don't need to sanitize water, and that makes life a lot easier. A couple of the guys had those cool life straw things that you fill up your water bottle and drink through those, and I'm gonna look into those. Those look pretty neat.
Yeah,
sure.
They'll probably live. We won't.
Time saver for sure. But yeah, just epic trip. It's just a beautiful trip. You start up at the top of the mountains and you take out in the salt water at the ocean. So you're just coming down through a series of canyons and things, and it's a mountain river, and just stunningly beautiful.
Yeah, every time we paddled over a pool, you'd look down and try to see how deep it was because you could see to the bottom. But then I'd put my pole in and not be able to touch, and that's a 12-foot pole. Like that's deep, clear water that you can see all the way to the bottom of.
You weren't even close to halfway.
Unbelievable.
So
the
probably
lower
about 30
river
feet.
anyway.
Yeah, the lower river. The top river.
So the upper river,
story.
the one, probably the hardest thing that we faced this trip was that the water level was just really low. And when you start off at the top, a kind of a shallow winding mountain stream, there just wasn't enough water to paddle it. So the three of us were fortunate. We were in solo boats and we were poling. But even then, there were a lot of situations where, there was just no wiggle room at all. But there wasn't enough water to push with a paddle to be able to control a heavy boat.
Yeah, and to that, the odd thing to me was that some of the points where we had lower water were more dangerous for the paddlers than it was when we were at high water where it was going fast because they couldn't apply enough force with the paddle to actually have any control of their boat.
Right.
And
they had to get out, and every time you have to get out of your boat, there's a lot of things that could go wrong. So the more you can stay in your boat, the better.
So that was probably our biggest challenge.
Yeah.
That and, occasionally singing off key with the second verse of Party in the Gaspésie.
I have never heard you sing off key in your life.
No, I'm not talking about me.
Oh, okay, good.
It's what held the whole
crew
together.
Your sultry baritone was all that kept us going.
I get that a lot.
I know.
So what were we, 6 nights?
Yep. 6 nights out.
6 nights out, and it was cold. That water is just barely above freezing. We went in to do some lining around some ledges, and my toes went numb in less than 20 seconds, right? It's barely above freezing.
Yeah.
And we had hard frosts at night, so it was nice. It really kept the bugs down. We didn't see any bugs until the last day when it really warmed up. But, yeah, cold water, cool temps, one full day of rain. And the other big challenge on that river is the embacles.
Embacle!
And these are giant log jams. This is it's a wilderness river, right? It's not managed. There's no rangers. So they get these, and there's a really steep gradient as it comes out of the mountains. So they get these huge log jams where you have to you're out of your boat lifting over logs. You can't float through it. You would die. It would be so there were
pieces.
There were a couple of them. Two of them. One of them where we had to sort of kind of wade through, and you're lifting over that and trying to duck under that. And the second one, the good folks from Canoe the Wild it was their second trip down of the year, and they cut a little carry trail around around it, I don't know, 60 yards maybe.
Yeah, saved us a lot of time.
We did have to go out and find it.
Yeah, that was a challenge.
But that's more on us than on them, I think. We were pretty zonked. But yeah, that's kind of the biggest thing I got out of this is, we're talking about how clear the water was and how beautiful this place was. But if you look at the pictures, it almost looks like, we're all paddling and we look like we're having a great time. But wild places bring inherent risk with them, and not just like the embacles that we're talking about, but also, we mentioned that the water was just above freezing, and we had a couple guys dump boats, and it was not
We had a couple guys dump boats every day.
Yeah, it was. There were a couple of stretches of river that were tough. There was one in particular where three of the 5 boats flipped because you come around this corner and there's just a jagged point that if you're not really trying hard, it's hard to get around. And
well, to describe it with give it a little more justice. You come down this chute.
Yeah,
you're doing about 20 miles an hour, and then you have 4 feet to make a 90-degree right turn.
Yeah, it was
before the current hits into a big granite wall and then splits.
Yes, and it was as I'm sort of a relatively new guide and stuff like that, and this was the first time I've been out where I felt the reality of a lot of these situations, where as soon as people dumped, Tim was taking care of that. I was lighting a fire. Everybody was drying out. And it wasn't just it wasn't a practice run. It was real. Like that was the day it was rainy. Everybody was already wet and cold, and then they dropped into just above freezing water, and it was real. Like this isn't just a vacation kind of thing. If you're going into these places, there's inherent risk, and people need to understand that.
Action was taken right away. Which was really,
but the value is not diminished by that at all. I'm not trying to doom and gloom this. I think that's something that doesn't get approached when people want to go do these trips.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that. Mm-hmm. The doom and gloom. I mean, what I'll say is that attitude is contagious. Your attitude is contagious, and whatever your attitude is, especially in a group setting where we're so close and around each other all the time. I'll say on this trip, the attitudes never ever dip below positive. If it wasn't just absolute joy, we were singing and paddling, and even when we were dumping, even when we were having to, pull boats over these embacles and go and find these carries that were around the embacles that we had to look for a while, and all these obstacles that came in our way that the river kind of threw at us. All of our attitudes were upbeat. We're still singing, partying the Gaspésie.
I think that's what got us through. Like we wouldn't have been in such a great mood if we didn't have Miley Cyrus's song of redemption in our hearts. Thank you, Miley Cyrus.
Thank you, Miley Cyrus. I felt like an actual voyageur, except I don't think that they would have been singing Miley Cyrus.
If they had it, they would have.
They would, though, absolutely.
Well, voyageur songs like Asamelo, En Roulant, Party in the Gaspésie.
Yes, exactly. The long historically. I can never decide if she's going to sue us or endorse us.
Yeah, tough to tell.
Yeah. But yeah, attitude is definitely everything. And then it's also one of the big takeaways for me on this trip was being on trail with other competent people. Like not to diminish students and stuff, but it's a different setting when you're out with people that are there to learn. Like you're kind of making all the decisions, you're kind of running stuff. But when you're with a bunch of people that know what they're doing to a certain extent and are comfortable in the woods, it's an experience I haven't had before, and it was great. Like it was just everything was fun, even the stuff that was hard. Like because there wasn't much that came up that our particular group of people couldn't handle, and that was a really cool experience for me.
There's nothing that came up that we couldn't handle.
It was
we almost ran out of coffee, and that would have killed us.
We didn't even come close to running out of coffee.
No. We thought we did.
We learned from this last winter trip.
I see. Okay.
That, pack more coffee than necessary.
It's humanly possible to assume.
Yeah.
It was a bit of an all-star team, though. I don't think there's really any challenge with that group.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I'll tell you what. Being probably one of the newer, less experienced people on trail, I'll tell you, it was just unimaginable value that I took from it. Being around so I don't know how many years and compilations of knowledge, and just kind of seeing it all take place, and the passion for it was what really got me. I mean, Kelly, coming out and showing his tent setup, his tarp setup, which you could kind of see the passion for it. it was really eye opening, you know, and just seeing how when things just kind of came in again, when obstacles were getting our way, we just adapt and overcome. And it's just one thing that really, as a less experienced person, it's something to aspire to, and kind of gives you a just like a beacon to steer towards, which is it's awesome. It's one of the
You're
reasons
talking
why
about
you
Sardis, the shining city on the hill, right?
Absolutely,
That's your beacon?
that's my
Okay.
shining,
John Winthrop,
my city on the
1680.
hill.
No, I'm not trying to diminish what you're saying, Colin. I agree entirely.
Yeah, I mean, some great role models for the younger members of the trip, and just a lot of. I think there's a huge emphasis placed on skills as if they're sort of one-off in the bushcraft community. So it's neat to go out and to do it and to live the lifestyle and to be in a remote area where it's not like, okay, everybody gather around, we're going to tie a knot. It's more like we're just going to do it and get it done and move on to the next thing.
Yes.
And just how seamless it becomes. And, I mean, that's sort of the goal of like instructional programs, is to get people to where they could participate in an event like that, where you're just going out and doing it without a lot
absolutely.
of, we're not, slowing things down and breaking things down. We're lining class 3 ledges, a series of them, and it's just like, okay, everybody kind of knows the drill. Let's tie on lining bridles and go. Like we weren't like checking everybody's stuff. It was just like, okay, everybody gets it. We'll just go and do it.
Yeah, and once you have that sort of that minimum, I don't want to say minimum level of competency, but once you have a certain standard of competency, you can go and do rivers like this. I've never been there. I've never paddled big water like that before, but with a certain set of, like I was able to, with that minimum set of skills, go out and do something that was challenging for me. And that's the only way you get any better at it, but it's great to have like that basic skill set and know that I could kind of, I don't want to say anywhere, but there's not a lot of rivers I wouldn't be interested to try now. Especially
it's
after
the sum of all
yeah,
of the parts.
Exactly.
Which kind of gives you so much confidence. I mean, like you said, like we can go out and you can tie a knot till your fingers are bleeding, and you can, you can do all these things that are individually, which is good. I mean, you practice individual things, but what really comes together is when you do the whole thing. When you take a trip and everything, exactly. Everything connects. I mean, again, low water levels, embocals, I mean, everything that...
Those guys potentially running out of cigarettes.
Yes,
that was a big
thing.
That was a bit, yeah.
I was pretty nervous, actually.
Yeah, that would have been something.
Oh, the rationing.
I will say, though, I've never seen anybody paddle harder than the person that is out of cigarettes.
Yeah.
Ever in my life have I seen that happen.
It's like, what, 600 miles to go? We're out of cigarettes? This trip's over
2 hours
tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. We're going.
That's why a good plant ID skill to know is the tobacco extenders, right? Like alder cones, like red osier dogwood bark, stuff like that. Bearberry leaves. Those guys were smoking cigarettes, not pipes, but we could have.
Yeah, we could have made it work.
We could have made it work.
Red osier dogwood and an onion skin.
Yeah, we once had a guy who I won't name to protect his identity because he's a really good friend of mine, but. When he was a student on a semester, I think he ran out of cash by the end of the course, and he was smoking cigarettes at the time, and so he processed a whole bunch of red osier dogwood and was rolling it up in onion peels, like the dead skin on the outside of an onion. And I walked up one day, and he's smoking dogwood and an onion peel, and I'm like, man, you got to get yourself together.
Check yourself before you wreck yourself.
I was just holding up a mirror. Right like, look at you right now. Maybe it's time to get off the cigarettes.
Yeah, but even that kind of brings in just that like potential for them to run out. Brought up something else that was kind of an interesting thing to see on trail with a bunch of people that knew what they were doing, which is the soft skills, like the sort of group management and group dynamics that happen, because it happens regardless of how much anybody knows. It's just a matter of being human and being out on trail together. But to have that dynamic be where everybody was sort of an equal as opposed to like instructors versus students was At times challenging, but a very rewarding experience for me. I don't know if you guys have anything to add to that.
Well, I'll tell you, there was a lot of, there was a lot of sharing. There was a lot of, it was a tribe. It became a tribe, and everybody pulled their own weight and then some, and everybody stepped up. That's the thing. Everybody at one point or another stepped up. And
not me. I laid down the whole time.
But you were up pulling, so. But I'll take some of that.
We're pouring coffee. Apologies for the inconvenience.
I will say also there was a lot of trail magic. Like we found a new recipe for.
Yes, we did.
Le
Tre Bonaventure wrap up. And we can go into that in detail, but not too much. We won't give you the secret sauce.
But, just things, again, like, when things go wrong or, when chaos comes in, you just kind of stay grounded. You keep your attitude up, keep your spirits high. You have your skills, and that's why we do all these things.
Yeah. And
you rely and you adapt and overcome. And
well, let's talk about that recipe, and I think that's a good example of what you're talking about.
Well, before we go there, I just want to be on the record as saying that soft skills are everything on an expedition.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like maintaining interpersonal conduct
It's
and
hard.
whatnot, and leadership and things like.
Yeah.
That's what makes or breaks. That's why we had a really good time. Was because of the people on the trip were talented with their soft skills.
Yeah, well, because I think that the potential danger of doing it. So the trip that we did was an instructor trip. Like it was a bunch of people that are used to being kind of in charge, and that's sort of a recipe for disaster.
it could be
if it
a
goes wrong.
situation
Like,
with a lot of.
It could be a lot of
chefs,
egos.
A lot of chefs in the kitchen.
And it wasn't. It never felt that way to me at all. And lots of little things happened where it was just like everybody, like Colin said, everybody kind of like put their heads together and figured out how to solve a problem. And sort of the most culinarily beautiful moment of that was the Tre Bonaventure wrap up, which was, so we have these York boxes that we keep all our food in, and one of them had leaked and it had gotten into the pasta that we had for our last dinner of the trail, and it was pretty gross. I don't think anybody really wanted to eat it, and we just kind of looked around at what we had and ended up coming up with a dish that was sort of, I don't know.
It was better than anything.
Pasta
it was
would
the
have
best.
been. It just happened.
It was the best meal we had on the whole trip.
Yeah,
and it was some food that was brought.
Just spare
that wasn't
stuff.
even planned. It was just food that was brought from Blake Towsley, and we had some extra, apples and.
So yeah, it was homemade Canadian back bacon.
Yep.
And apples fried with brown sugar and butter, and then we deep fried tortillas and wrapped it up. It was epic.
It was amazing.
It was a pretty amazing.
It was amazing,
experience.
and just the whole thing. And I'll tell you one thing that I'll tell you, one tip I guess that I could give is to just savor the moment. When you're out on trail, because that's basically one of the big things that you're doing it anyway, is to just have those moments. And that was a moment where I call it trail magic or bush magic or whatever.
I call it witchcraft.
It was beautiful. It was a beautiful thing. And again, there was, it could have been a big deal because we lost the whole meal.
Of contention, for sure.
And we could have turned on each other and pointed fingers and done all those things, but we didn't. We just kept our heads cool. We relied on our adaptability and our skills. We came together as a group, as a tribe, and we actually made lemonade out of lemons.
And then had a cappella karaoke, which
Wait
was
a
awesome.
minute. You guys had lemonade? Why didn't I get any of this lemonade?
Because you were too busy being on stage singing.
Damn it.
You were just in the zone.
Tim,
you weren't even there.
You got to choose. Yeah, you have to choose between your passions. It's either lemonade or being on stage, and you can't have both, man.
Brutal.
And one other thing also I would like to tap onto is that campsite that we had. It was the second to last day when we just where we went for 10 hours straight. And
the gravel bar.
Hobo camp.
Yeah,
Hobo camp.
We had our eyes set on a campsite that Tim had stayed at before, and we were kind of leapfrogging this group, Canoe the Wild, which were awesome, an awesome outfit, and we're great people. But we came up to their campsite, and it was just no room for the two parties, so we. After 10 hours, of paddling, we decided, hey, we're just going to pull over to this gravel bar that was, maybe, I don't know, like 50 yards or meters down river.
Yeah, so it was a little bit downriver. This thing, we pulled over, there's like a bunch of river cobble and then a bit of gravel and sand, and then you're up into it like a 45-degree incline going up into the woods, into the mountains. So there's no flat ground.
Yeah.
So we ended up camping right on the edge of the gravel bar. From where the woods hit the flat to the actual river water level, maybe 20 feet, and maybe we had 50 feet from end to end.
Yep.
So we kind of raked out a big flat spot, laid down some ground tarps, and we all slept under a tarp together, hobo style.
Hobo style.
It was pretty fun. It was pretty good.
Oh, it was great. It was just one of those moments where like that could have meant another like hour and a half of paddling to get to another spot,
which we had been going for 11 and a half hours.
Yeah. That was our big push day.
We went through the second debacle that day.
And that's not
debacle.
The debacle at
the
the
debacle at the debacle.
We had a boat stuck that we had to unstuck.
Yeah.
It kind of almost
it was a
broached
very
one.
draining day, and like, and potentially if we had kept going, we were all tired. Maybe something else goes wrong.
Right,
but
that's when accidents
exactly.
happen.
So, but the ability for us all to,
come to a consensus.
Yeah, like just make the most of what we got. Like that kind of stuff. I don't know if we were with students. Maybe that wasn't an option, but with a bunch of people that are...
Well, if you're with students, it's not a democracy. The decision-making process is inherently different. So if I'm guiding the trip and we're with students, I'd say we're camping here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because everybody's tired, it's late.
Mm-hmm.
This is when accidents happen.
Right.
But we were able to arrive at that decision sort of organically.
Which could have been even harder. Because, again, all these different experience levels and again, it could have been a too many chefs in the kitchen scenario.
That's where we have guide teams. Only 2 chefs in the kitchen.
Yeah, right, exactly. But
I think the saying you're looking for is too many chefs in the outhouse.
No.
No.
How have you been cooking our meals? I don't want to eat anything you cook ever again. But no, it could have been. So like, I think what I was trying to get at is, if we're students, we'd say we're camping here, and maybe there would be people that were unhappy with that. But with us as a group, it became this amazing, hilarious, ridiculous experience, which maybe it wouldn't if there were people that were being told to sleep on a gravel bar. Like, that stuff's cool. That stuff is not... I don't experience that very often.
That was my favorite. I think that was my favorite campsite.
Oh,
yeah.
I'll remember that one for a long time.
Well, the unexpected is usually the most memorable.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But, a good jumping off point to talk about that if you're kind of planning an expedition with friends, regardless of what it is, the choice of personnel is huge.
Oh, yeah.
And, thinking about not only someone's skill set, skill level, they can do this, they can do that, but just the personality they have. If they're really wound up tight and type A and they're going to freak out if things don't go according to plan, maybe they're not the best person to have along. Somebody who's, reasonably skilled, but they can kind of roll with the punches a bit, and if things don't work out exactly as you plan, they're probably a good person to have along. Because, unless it's here in Maine, we have the luxury with some of the routes that we've run for 20-something years that, every river rock, or every potential hazard is. But, if you go exploring new places, exploring is inherently something that you don't have all the answers showing up beforehand. So the idea of, choosing people who can kind of deal with change midstream to accompany you on that trip, that's a big consideration. Mm-hmm. No stress, no drama, fun, easy, can get along with whatever.
Yep.
I think that's a a huge thing. So this was the sort of inaugural instructor trip series trip. We plan to do more of them. We'll probably formalize sort of the requirements for entry and whatnot. Because again, you do a trip like this.
You want to know who's coming on. You want to know the people. Yeah.
But I mean, we're out guiding and teaching a lot of the year. More than 6 months of the year, we're out guiding and teaching, and so this is sort of like this is the vacation trip. This is you need time. If you're a professional guide, you spend a lot of time out on the river, on the snowshoe trail or whatever. You need time to go out where you can just do it and have fun doing it, and not have to worry about other people. Not have to think about who you need to watch out for and who's gonna crater on a really cold, wet day and things like that. Like, you need time to experience the joy of being out and doing it.
Yeah, it's so easy for it to become work, whereas this last week did not feel like work. It felt like just vacation. It felt like a nice break.
There was a lot of work, but it didn't feel like work.
No, because we were laughing and joking the whole time.
Yeah, it was physically stressful and physically challenging, but it wasn't. The concern wasn't in keeping tabs on everybody on the trip, and as a guide, that's just like when you can just let go and relax and enjoy it and be in the moment. When you're actually guiding professionally, you don't have that opportunity very often. I think from the outside looking in, you think, oh geez, you're out leading wilderness trips, but you're managing personalities on a minute by minute basis. You're making sure that the meals all work and nothing gets lost, and you're checking out all the gear. You're making sure nobody gets hurt, and if they do, how do you do? You're managing a lot of things.
Exactly.
If you're a juggler, you've got a lot of balls in the air. And the point of this trip, and hopefully this trip series, is to get out, with other professionals and say, hey, let's just enjoy it.
Just have a good time.
Everybody can kind of sort themselves out. Everybody brings their own gear. This trip I brought the cook kit and some of the group gear, and I did the meals, and we just split up the cost. But if everybody brings their own stuff, it just makes it more enjoyable and less stressful.
Oh, absolutely.
So that plan to have a series of those, maybe one a year. I don't know if we'll do snowshoe trips like that, but I would still love to do like a paddling trip like that every year.
Absolutely.
Just explore new water. There's so much within I think the Bonaventure is it's like 4.5, 5 hours from the field school here, and in that radius, if we wanted to, what is it? It's 4 hours to Portland. Is that what you say?
From here, yeah.
So within the radius of like here in Portland, there are a whole bunch of rivers in Canada.
So much stuff to do.
And there's so many awesome trips here in Maine.
Yeah.
And they don't always have to be a week, and they don't always have to be remote, but just to get out and do it and enjoy it.
So to anybody that's listening that, maybe you work in this field, maybe you don't, but maybe you like the outdoors and spend a lot of time in it, but like take the time to remember why you started doing it. Like, run trips like this with friends, and don't post about it. Don't write about it. Don't talk about doing it. Just go out and do it and enjoy it. Remember why you got into this stuff.
Don't write about it.
Well, yeah.
Don't post about it.
Well, I'm going to
talking about.
I'm going to post.
The only reason we did this trip was to post photos on Instagram.
Well, we have to feed the propaganda machine,
what are you
Tim.
talking about? Like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Okay, so let me
That's
rephrase.
like saying, don't breathe when you're out.
Let me rephrase this. Don't post or write about it while you're out there. Bring your phone, take pictures. Don't you dare.
Why get a satellite phone if you're not going to post stuff constantly?
Oh my God.
Like, how are we going to keep up with the Kardashians when we're out there if we don't have a satellite phone? And if we're keeping up with them, why not post to the internet propaganda machine constantly? I don't even understand what you're talking about sometimes.
I'll be in the outhouse.
There's too many chefs in the outhouse right now.
Yeah. But yeah, go out and get it with a couple of friends. Leave your phones on airplane mode. Take pictures and just enjoy. I can see them starting to rip into it again, and I'm trying to get this point across. But I'm going to stop because I now genuinely don't remember what I was talking about.
I think what
you two and I are enemies now.
Now?
Well, worse.
Well,
Our children's children will fight over this event. No, go out and enjoy yourselves. Have fun.
Yeah, and savor the moment.
Yes.
Take it in, because, again, everything that is your life from back home, when you're out on trail, I mean, I don't remember who we were talking to about this, but I was
Dragon.
like,
Dragon the night. Yeah, we were talking about how...
Like, I don't even remember what I was worried about.
Exactly.
When
That's
I
what
came
I was
down
trying
here.
to say.
Yeah.
before I was so
Leave
rudely
all-
shanghaied by this shenanigans.
I still don't even know what you're referring to.
I don't either anymore, and that's the frustrating part.
But it was, yeah, again, and that's going to happen. That's the thing. That's the beautiful thing about it is that happens. You know, like by day 3, I was like, I don't even remember what I was tripping over from back home. You know, I'm just out here savoring the moment. I'm hearing this beautiful river pass by me, which actually, it's kind of funny because we went out to eat at a restaurant when we came back. We got into Presque Isle, and I remember we were sitting down, and I could hear the white noise from like
it's crazy
from like the whatever it was. I don't know if it was like the ventilation system or what, or the air conditioner or what. But I could just hear this noise, and like I have eaten there before, never heard that, and I know that it's because I was listening to this river all week long, and now I'm hearing just this, you know, artificial noise, and it was kind of starting to get to me a little bit, and you know,
I didn't hear anything. I don't know what you're talking about.
Tell you what got to me is on the trip, all those birds just singing all day.
They
like,
wouldn't.
Are
We
they so
get
happy?
it. You're happy.
Shut up. You know, let me enjoy the river without all this birds singing happily and flying
Nature
around.
getting in the way of stuff.
Ugh.
That's probably a good note to wrap this up on, I think.
yeah.
So yeah, go out, have some fun in the wild. Don't bring your phones. I'm gonna stick to that, whether they
What?
think I'm agreeing or not. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I don't even get this.
Good night and good luck, people.
Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you again later. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a review wherever you listen to it.